Like I mentioned, we have the Slack where you can join us. It will also go to the Meetup. We'll add the link there, but here it is. It's agileconnect.slack.com. Feel free to join. It's our online community, and it's across all locations, not just for Lisbon. Regarding our meetups, they're all recorded. If there are talks like today, we have talks, they will be recorded and they'll be shared on YouTube. Regarding workshops, that's a setup that's a bit different, but regardless, for today's talk, it will be recorded and shared on YouTube, and you can also visit us on Facebook. That's where we are, facebook.com/agileconnect. Lastly, we can contribute not only by being a volunteer to the organizational topics, but you can also propose the next talk. It can be yours, can be a friend, can be someone you know, and you can also contribute by giving feedback using the form that will be shared on the messaging system of Zoom, and you can share feedback with us regarding the talks. We really appreciate it, but we also like to call for volunteers again. We never forget that. So thanks for also giving it back to the community. So for today, we have two talks. One starts in just a minute. At 6:40, we'll have Pedro speaking about 5 ideas on how to humanize your digital products. We'll have a small break of 5 minutes at 7:15. And after that bio break, we'll have Thene presenting us, are you a drama queen or king? How to improve your results at work and at home. We are scheduled to finish at 8:20. And that will be it for today. So I would like to ask Pedro to start his presentation, and please, all of us, welcome Pedro to the table.
Okay, thank you, Cristiano. And right on time. Okay, let me just share my screen and ask this COVID famous sentence. Can you see my screen yet?
We can.
Good. Most said sentence 2020. Okay, so thank you for having me today. I've been following Agile Connect for I think almost 3 years now, but only as a member of the community, always learning with you guys. So I'm very happy to be now here as a presenter. Today I will be sharing with you some ideas on how one can humanize a digital product and what does this mean. But before we go into it, let me just present myself because it's the first time that you probably see me. You can always reach me on contact@pedroganço.com. And I'm still entitled to say that I was born in the 80s. I'd say 9, but still in the 80s. And I enrolled an engineering course to become a telecom engineer, which I did for a few years. And I started my career really at Nokia Siemens, where I became a telecom engineer. But then I went back to finish my studies because technically it was a long ride. And once I got back to work, I started this consulting experience, I would say. A very interesting experience that I totally recommend everyone because it broadens your perspective on a more strategic level. But it was not enough for me, and I was still trying to figure out what my passion is, which I found at product management. I started working as product manager for the last 4 years now. I started at Premium Minds, which is a software house, then a startup, Liquid, and most recently I've just changed to SIBS, which is product management on a big corporation. So very different perspectives on how one can apply this product management thing. Okay, so now you know a little bit about me, my past, and I would like to start my talk on digital product humanization. And today I like to bring to you what is digital product humanization, how one can do it, and I'll just give you 5 ideas on how one can achieve this. And at the end, I will try to say why I think this might be relevant for you and why this is relevant today. So what really is digital product humanization? And this is simply no more than giving human traits to digital products so that humans may better interact with what your product is trying to achieve. So product humanization is no more than giving traits that are human to something that is not human, which is a digital product that we interact with. And I'm a very visual guy, and along this presentation, I like to give you lots of images so that you may better understand what I'm trying to communicate here. And just to give you an example of what I think is a human approach in a digital product, let us all see what Apple thinks about launching the iPhone for the first time. It's the first time that you see this iPhone or this software update, and someone at Apple decided, okay, one thing that our digital product might say is hello, because this is recognizing that on the other side of the screen there is a human, and humans don't approach each other for the first time with a just slide to set up. They say hello. So this is a very human approach on how one can implement this digital product humanization. And even simple tasks like, okay, the update has been completed successfully. And then they add, there are just a few more steps to follow, and then you're done. This is very human language, I would say. And then you're done. This is not a machine talking with you. This is a person, which is your mobile phone talking with you. On the other side of the spectrum, you have this machine-to-machine communication. No one really understands this. Probably someone in the IT department would get these errors and really appreciate the fact that the error is at 39 and not 38. But for me, seeing this, and every one of us have already seen this kind of messages, this is whoever implemented this kind of communication was not really thinking, okay, what should that person see? Is he did not fully understand that at the other side of the spectrum there is a human watching to these messages. So I would say this is a digital product talking machine language, not the human language. And even errors can be beautiful. And although this is a blue screen of that everyone gets scared to see one of these, it's really a human message. Okay, it's a bad one, so we put it a sad face in here. And then we say, your PC ran into a problem. I don't need to know what problem it is. It's just a problem. Okay, got it. It needs to restart. Okay, I know how to do it. Oh, I don't need. They will restart it for me. Perfect. And they will let me know when it's finished. And if I need to raise some ticket to a support team, they say, if you call a support person, give them this info. Critical process died. You see the difference? The critical process died message would be right in front of you, screaming at you. Here is a human message, even though it is an error message. So it's totally possible to have this human approach in a digital product. But why I started looking for this kind of cues in the digital products that I was using on a daily basis. It all started at a company where I was the responsible for the product. And we had this agency, external agency, that did some benchmark and some assessments of how our product was being perceived by our customers, what our customers perceived about our business, our approach to it. And we were very happy because all the main competitors were very conservative, and we were the brave ones going in fighting for this niche market, that we were very innovative. And just to give you some minimum context in here, this is a kind of a fintech company. I would say financial service industry. So it's very all the common approaches in these fintechs and financial services is a very conservative, cold one, because we are dealing with serious stuff of financial operations. So it's common to see in the industry that the approach of the digital solutions are also very conservative. And we were very good to innovate. And what do you mean by innovate is translating all the paper-based process into digital processes. We automated lots of tasks, and we were able to reduce lots of cutting the costs of big support teams, big financial departments. We did not need that because we were automating lots of tasks that were previously done by humans. And this is good for business because we save money. And this is also good for customers because we are able to provide very fast answers to business needs. So we were good. But then on the other side, also this agency we interviewed some of our customers and asked them what they valued in this approach. And they understood that our main customers were valuing human interactions, meaning they really did not care who they were doing business with. They just want the one that is fastest or cheapest. And most of the times we are the fastest one, and the prices sometimes they go for one of the competitors, sometimes they go for us. But every one of us are very in this cold approach to our customers. Our customers value the human interaction. They recognize the person that talk with them, not the product brand. So as a product manager, I start thinking, okay, this is a problem I need to solve. If there is value in this warm approach to our customers, I need to look into it. And so I started looking around me using my digital products, how this digital product is going into a more warmer, fuzzy feeling approach. And then I did this question: how can one humanize a digital product? And today I would like to share with you some ideas that I found using daily products. That some of them you might recognize. And I will, if humanization of a digital product is about giving human traits, I will share with you 5 human traits that I think we can translate into a digital product. The first one is about being fun. And what do you mean, Pedro? Digital product being fun. We all experienced the worst thing in the world, which is losing internet connectivity. And Google Chrome found out that, okay, but we can turn this very awful moment into a game. And if you know Google Chrome, you know that when there is no internet connection, once you randomly press your arrow keys, that message turns into a game. So this is a way that Google found out to turn a bad situation into a playful one. Another one that is very common to see, and most of you have already seen some of them, is when you go into a broken link, instead of just seeing a 404 error message, you get to see something that is a funny approach on communicating these kind of errors. And another tip is not to take yourselves too seriously. Even if Google, one of the biggest company in the world, is able to change its logo and play with it, there is really no excuse for us to not to look into our digital product and see how can I make this more fun. Or the Sketch application that some designers may know, while it's importing the documents, which takes some time, they would say, okay, nice designs. I find some humor behind these things. The second human trait I would like to share with you is about having an identity. And identity mainly is about the consistency. If when you meet someone, you're not expecting that person to change face every other day or to change their clothing style. So why should our products? Okay, so most of you recognize Atlassian, the company that builds Jira software. If you go to the web page, you get to see this. You get the feeling of its web page, but if you go into LinkedIn messages, they try to communicate the same visual line on social networks. When they communicate with you via email, they also tend to keep this consistency of design. And the product resembles also the same colors that you are used to see in this ecosystem. So it's much more about just the digital product. It's beyond it. It's the way you communicate with it. Like a person, it's the person itself, but it's also the way it interacts in the world. It communicates ideas. Another Portuguese company that I really like the way they do these things, the consistency in the design and message throughout different platforms. But it is also more than just visual identity. And even if you are on an application, a mobile application or a desktop application, whether you are on your landing page, your communication, everything must be the same. It must be consistent. And I think it's much more than just being consistent in visual language. It's also about showing faces when you can. It's about saying, okay, you are interacting with a customer support chatbot. And Intercom does this very nicely. They clearly distinguish. Okay, now you are talking with a robot, but now you are talking with a real human. And let's show them face behind the product. Let's see that I'm about to complain. So maybe let me just see that there is a face of a person right there, so that I might not be so rude, because at the end of the day, we're not just talking with computers, we're talking with people. And the third trait that I would like to share with you is about greeting new encounters. This is something that a human does. When you meet someone, you say, okay, hello, my name is Pedro. I'm from Lisbon, and you introduce yourself. So an idea for us to implement this in our digital products is for the first time that you get to see a digital product for the first time, why shouldn't you get introduced to it? And the big product companies, I would say, are very good at it. There is still some progress to be done in this area. And I would like to share with you an example from Slack. The first time you enter Slack, they would say, welcome to Slack. Okay, we have channels and you can send some direct messages. You can do a lot more, but they don't need to tell you everything up front. They would just say, okay, this is Slack, we have channels, we have direct messages. The same way you don't share your entire life. That would be awkward. So there is another approach that we can do is to implement something that you call walkthroughs. The first time that I'm entering a new product for this first time, they would say, okay, in here you can check your active apps. In here, this is the feed. If you don't know, you can check your calendar here. They let you know how the platform works. And this is a way for us to recognize that it is a human that is meeting us for the first time. We should introduce ourselves. On the other side of the spectrum, and this I have not encountered any example for me to give to you. I have to grab it from the internet. And it was introduced first by Alan Greenstein, which is called progressive reduction. And this is much harder to implement because now you need to keep on versions and understand the status of a user. But I think it might be very interesting for us to get to see these more often. And what do you mean by recognizing these old friends? What is progressive reduction? Progressive reduction is no more than say, okay, this user has been with us for more than a month. Maybe I don't need to tell him now everything. We all know the feeling of entering an hard product to deal with, where there is lots of buttons, and we would appreciate if for the first time that we meet that product, we were strict with just fewer functionalities. But with time, we get to see these. We get to get more out of the product, but without getting it much to be more complex. And we could hide some of the things that we already know. So this is the simple for contacts. After a month, I don't need you to say explicitly, this is for contacts. Sorry. The last idea that I want to tell you, and I think is one of the most beautiful traits a human can have, and not everyone can brag about it, because if you brag, you're no longer humble. It's about humbleness. And what I mean by this, it's to recognize when we are faulty, and this is more regarding product communication. Sometimes bad things happen, and what differs is the way we approach these things. For instance, let me just give you an example from this website. Sorry, we slipped up. And let's put an image of banana here. You may have had trouble accessing our site yesterday, and to make up to you, we'd like to give you this special offer. Okay, sorry, we assume that we have this, we recognize that we have this fault. And let me make up to you, here's some discounts that you can grab. And I find this very beautiful because I always see behind these pictures, and I see that there is a communication alignment with the customers, alignment with sales to see can we offer something back to our customers that experience this kind of stuff, developers to adapt the platform to put these in the world. So I like to see these kind of human approaches when you put them in your product. Another example that happens every time: you send an email too early. Oops. That's the feeling that we have. Okay, but why not assume and send it out? Okay, we were so excited about the Vushtoff sale that starts tomorrow, and we sent an email about it today by mistake. Let's assume our mistakes. I don't think this makes your product looks bad. On the contrary. And last example I have for you is when you also unsubscribe a service. Okay, no worries, stuff happens. Your subscription has been terminated. We are going to wipe your data. Don't worry about it. Let's make these interactions more humanly. So these were just 5 human traits that I would like to share with you today in the ideas on how you can switch your product approach. If you are a designer, if you are a developer, you are a product manager, if you are someone that is able to interact and to influence the product direction of the product that you are currently handling. But why is this relevant to you? For me, it was clear because we had this assessment made by a design agency that told us, okay, there is business opportunity here. Your customers really value these human interactions. If you could somehow make them more human approach, but for me it was easy. But why is this also relevant to you? And thinking about this question, I immediately started looking for data, and there is lots of data that you already know. I'm not going to go really deeply into these. I could grab some fancy papers from Deloitte saying that, okay, if you are customer centric, you get to be 60% more profitable if you are not. And this report is actually pretty good if you want to read it. Customer centricity, or from McKinsey, and this is also a very good report stating the how the people are consuming things online. So mostly for digital e-commerce, the life online. Digital e-commerce is growing, and not only for electronics and books, it's also going into different categories of in industries that were not commonly sold on e-commerce. And not only people are buying more online, but they are also researching. There was a time that people get to see the products in the store, physical store, and then, okay, I like these, let me buy online. Now we are switching everything to digital, and not only for e-commerce, so even for education. This meetup used to be a physical meetup where we had beers and gathered together, and now we are here using this digital product, which is Zoom. So I have not to tell you that even before COVID, this was a reality. And we spend so much time intertwined with all this technology around us. I just checked, and I'm embarrassed to say that yesterday I just checked my metrics, and I pick up my mobile phone more than 100 times in a day. So these digital products are in our lives. We cannot even try to see that we can just simply unplug. There is no plug to unplug. These things are all around us. Even if you get to check the trends for the future, you are seeing that you have this Neuralink from Elon Musk that tried even to put a digital physical digital product in your brain and interact with the other machines. You get to see these humanoids coming in. So what I really see that the trend is coming is no longer that we are going into a human-centric design, because this is old news. Some of the things that I show you today are already mentioned in the heuristics from Nielsen, or some marketing strategy communications. There are lots of different areas of expertise that mention ideas on how you can design thinking about humans. But I'm not talking just about human-centric design. I'm really talking about humanly design. How can I design a digital product in a way that it looks as if it was a human? Because if we are to be surrounded by technology every day, I think we should all stop to think, how can we make it share some of our beautiful human traits? And this is some idea that I'd like to share with you today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. It was really nice.
Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro. I would like to ask the community if they have any questions to Pedro.
Well, you have plenty of reactions on the chat.
Yeah,
you don't have a very human voice, you
Yeah.
In the chat, is that? So I would say that you have plenty of positive reactions on the chat, Pedro. And I think someone asked, let me see, Paulo Diaz. So he's asking that usually that's usually what you see in email marketing, right? Or am I missing?
Okay. No, you're really not missing it. Like I said, some of the things I mentioned are not rocket science, are not big news. This is something that is being mentioned already throughout different topics, like you mentioned in marketing email. perfectly right. You didn't mix it. That's exactly it. And even some of the things that I said, it's about UX interaction with humans, mentioned on heuristics and other human-centric design ideas that are out there. This is not new stuff. This is just an idea on making things out of different areas of expertise and thinking about, let's not design our products thinking that there is a human on the other side, but let's design our products as if they were human, because I believe this is a trend that is coming for the future upcoming years, where you will be start to having humanoids interacting with you, making the laundry in your home. Now you're even speaking, let me just say this one more example. For instance, human just developed an AI technology where you get to speak with a robot, and you would not recognize there is a robot speaking, because they generate the voice with hesitation, which I think this is marvelous, because they put the human trait into the voice. If I'm speaking now with you, I would say, I would hesitate, and they replicated this behavior, which is a human trait, in this voice generated robot, so we would not reckon. And Google totally got it. They implemented the human trait, which is faulty, hesitation, into a digital solution. In that way, you would be tricked. You would not recognize. And now I see these applications coming in. You would get to replace the old customer support chatbots and stuff that we don't like, because they don't get it. But once you get to speak with the robot that goes into our level, having these faults, having these human traits, then these things get to become more intertwined, and we start not recognizing the frontier where the human starts and where the machine starts. Although some of the things that I presented are not new, the idea is not to have this human-centric design, but rather humanly design as if the product was human. And I think that trend is still not yet very concrete, and it's coming in the coming 10, 20 years.
Great. So we have a few more questions on the chat. Pedro, if you would like to answer. Carlos Ang, he's asking, besides talking about mistakes that were made, what other places can the communication be humble and honest?
Okay, good question. Beside mistakes, I think we can also be honest on roadmaps. We all seen, for instance, roadmaps publicly available on websites. When is this feature going to be launched? Or when we have these public customer support, when we ask, when is this feature going to be implemented? We can sometimes be more honest on these replies. We don't know. We don't know is very human answer. And sometimes people don't know. And sometimes it's difficult for companies to publicly assume we don't know. And I think that would be good that we get to see more companies recognizing some things we don't know. There is lots of TED Talks that you can check on empathy, on humanizing these faults that we have, and how good it makes us be in the world. So I think it's a good question. I don't have a clear answer to all the cases that we can use, but that's some ideas.
Right? Is it clear, Carlos, or do you want to add something? No, you're good. You are muted, but I don't know. Okay, what else do we have?
Starting with customer experience and move it to technology after. Deeper into customer technology after. Okay, that's a good question. We struggle with this. For instance, specifically for this customer support experience, sometimes we really we need to comply different things as product manager and the people that are responsible for products. We cannot just simply go, let's go 100% human and let's have 100 people answering phones and be very attentive to customers. This is good for the customers. It's not good for the business. And we also need we need to, like Marty Kangen say, you need to build products that are viable for the business, valuable for the customers, usable. So you have lots of things to consider. And the mix is very tricky. And that's a good question because it is a very hard answer. And what we found out is that, for instance, very specifically what we did at the product that I was responsible for, we found out that, okay, the business is not going into a human approach. We like the cost reductions that we have, and we like to keep it that way. We want to keep short financial departments and small customer support departments. We don't want to scale this with our business, and we like the way that we automate answers, because then we are faster, cheaper and faster, which is also good. But we also want to go to take care with this customer experience. We can do some things. We can change the copy of how we approach the customers. One thing that we did is we showed these faces of the people that are applying the support tickets, so that they know who are they talking with, not just an interface. You can say, okay, usually if you go to public services in Portugal, I think they implemented this in some places. Okay, the line is very big, but now it's taking an average 30 minutes, and you appreciate this honesty. Although some experience will always be bad, you're not going into a customer support center just to say thank you for a lovely product that you built. You're just there to complain. Things are tough, but you can make these interactions better. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, seems okay. Thank you. And I think we have another one from Barbara. Barbara, would you like to ask your question? You are very shy today, everyone.
No, so my question is, it's about using storytelling to increase empathy with customers. If you think it's actually a good idea and will help to humanize the interaction with your customers.
Okay, good question. I love storytelling. I think it's part of the reasons we keep attention, because we like stories. We like to see a beginning, a reason why people are telling you this, and we like to see there is some path, not just random things falling. The short answer, I think, yes, we can use storytelling to increase this empathy with customers. I don't know how one can implement it. I think it's very specific to how your product goes into market. I don't know how to answer that specifically. I think yes. I don't know how to do it.
Thank you.
That is a very human question answer. I don't know.
And I think
any other topics, questions? No.
Maybe not.
I think we have one. No.
You're good to go. So are we?
Did you read the?
Sorry?
We have one question at 7:10. Pedro, what do you have to say about faulty?
Okay, what do you say about faulty sincerity? About what you said about telling how much time to wait in line, but you missed it by 1 hour. Okay, that's a very good question. And you, this is not just fluffy. If you say, on average, people are waiting in line for 30 minutes, and then you wait 1 hour, this is even worse than not telling anything at all. There are some studies that say that people are much more willing to wait if they get to see a counter. For instance, on the traffic lights, the tension reduces by far if you get to say, okay, it is going to be red for 10 seconds, let's say. Then you get this feeling that it's under control, even in the metro, when you wait for the metro. And you like these kind of things that make you a false sense of control, because someone is doing it and you don't need to check it real time. But if you missed it, it's even worse than not saying anything up front. So if you are going to go into this human approach, you really need to think, am I able to deliver? Am I able to stick with my promises? Because even us, when you do this as humans interacting, and I say, okay, I'll call you in an hour, and then you don't call, we don't like that. So the same way, our products should not have this, because humans also have bad traits, and we should not replicate them, only the good ones. Thank you for your question.
Okay, then if we have no further questions, I would suggest to have our 5-minute break now and reconvene here at 7:17. Is that okay for everyone? So 7:20. Let's call it a round number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yes.
Jenna, I just would like to say that I will use this 5 minutes to give feedback about
Exactly.
the presentation.
Awesome
Okay.
idea, Nilsson.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Yeah, please provide us feedback. We will pass the link again to the chat. It will take just a minute, and for us it's quite important so we can continue improving. Thank you. So, see ya.
See you in 7 minutes.
Thank you all.
Okay, so we should all be back, I hope. First, I would like to thank Pedro for his session. Thank you for sharing with us and also for all the questions. And without further ado, Thene, I would pass you the stage, if you will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. So, so what I wanted to share tonight and talk about a bit is my topic's called "Are You a Drama Queen?" which is kind of fun, but it's really about a triangle of how we relate to people at work and home. So let's get started. So the triangles we're going to talk about today come from two men. The first one is Stephen Cartman from the late 60s, and the other one is from David Emerald. And I'll tell you, he actually built this a couple of times in the late 90s and early 2000s. So if you want to reference their books, I highly recommend those. So let's look at two different ways we can have a relationship at work or at home. When we get after a couple of slides, then we'll shift over to a Miro board, which I'll give you the link to, and then we can do some work together on the Miro board. Alrighty. So the first way I want to talk about the drama triangle is with some fairy tale movies that most everybody, I think, will know. So the first one is with Cinderella. And okay, so I don't know, in Portugal, can I get a show of hands from you guys? Do you know the story of Cinderella? Please tell me yes. Okay, good. All right, good. Disney made it across the pond. Good. All right, so the first person in the triangle is Cinderella herself. She is the victim. And she's the victim because she's helpless and hopeless and powerless. Depending on which movie you watch, she's more pathetic or less pathetic. But she really wants appreciation. She wants a break in her work. She's been worked way too hard. She wants a night out on the town, a pretty dress, and of course she wants the prince. But she has no real way to get it, and she's kind of sad. She's just kind of sad and pathetic. The next person in the triangle is called the persecutor, and so we have the wicked stepmother. And she's fueled by two things, really. Jealousy, because Cinderella is way more beautiful than her other two daughters. But she's also fueled by a desire for fame and fortune by becoming a part of the nobility, because if one of her daughters marries the prince, she gets to be considered nobility as well. So she's really the persecutor who really creates the victim of Cinderella. And then lastly, of course, we have the fairy godmother, who is the rescuer for Cinderella. She enables Cinderella to fulfill her ambitions, to go to the ball and to make a match with the prince. So this is the triangle that Stephen Cartman came up with in the late 60s to talk about drama in relationships and how this kind of drama is not great drama. This isn't like the drama that makes great movies. This is the drama that's really sad stuff. So, question for thought at the moment is, was the fairy godmother really helping Cinderella in the long run? Let's see what you think after we go through one or two more examples. So the next one, the next story we're going to look at is Pink Floyd, The Wall. So I'm going to need participation here. Let's see if I can actually get a chat box up at the same time. Let's see, how does this work? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to put the chat box on my other screen so I can watch. All right, so for those of you who know this story, where'd my cursor go? All right, so same three roles, right? We've got the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. So if you will, in the chat box, if you know the story that goes on in the album of The Wall, if you will tell me who you think either the victim, the rescuer, or the persecutor is. Let's see what you think. If you're super brave, you can actually go off mute and tell us. Anybody super brave about that? Nobody knows this story.
I can try. I don't know the whole story, so I maybe can give a bad answer, but I will try.
Okay.
I'll take the challenge. And for one of them, I say the persecutor are the teacher. I don't know if it makes sense.
Okay, because the teacher, tell us a little bit more why. What does the teacher say, or how does she behave?
Yes, I don't remember exactly, but this is the feeling that I have about the story.
Okay, all right. Do you want to take, Isabel, do you want to take the rescuer and the victim as well?
The victim, maybe the students, but I don't know the rescued, the rescue is. Yes, I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else who knows the album, who knows the story? There was a movie, but I'm not sure it was 100% in line with the original album. Nobody?
Nobody try.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, just so you know, the victim is the guy, is the main guy.
We have Carlos. Carlos is sharing an option here.
Yes. Well, okay. Yes. Okay. So the persecutor is the school and the teachers. It goes, as the album goes on, it gets worse and worse. It sort of becomes, the whole world becomes sort of pressing in on the main character, and the main character's name is Pink, or Pinky, some people call him. So he's the one who's got the mother, right? The rescuer is the singer. Ooh, I don't know who I don't know the singer character. So the way I took the story, and I've only heard this album once, it was amazing because it was in a laser light show in a planetarium. Freaking awesome way to see this movie. Anyway, the victim is this guy named Pink, and the world and the wall is what's pressing in on him. And the rescuer, at least we think the rescuer is his mother. She thinks she's being, she's taking care of him by keeping him safe. And in a little bit of the way, the wall itself is the rescuer because it's keeping him dependent and behind the wall. So the problem is, of course, the rescuer doesn't really rescue Pink, and the end of the album doesn't end so well. So, okay, let's try one more. Where's my cursor? Okay, so much like the fairy godmother, was Pink's mother really helping him by protecting him? Third one, Sleeping Beauty. Okay, give me a thumbs up. You guys know Sleeping Beauty too? Okay, all right, good deal. All right, so this one should be a little easier because it's a more common story. It's a very simple child story. Who wants to tell the group who's the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer? Who's brave?
So I can go with this one.
Yeah.
I think it's more or less similar to the first one. So probably the persecutor would be the witch. I think it's a witch. I don't remember much. The victim would be the Sleeping Beauty. And the rescuer, I think it was a prince. And he made her wake up by a kiss or something, right?
He does. So I'll tell you my take on the story is the first rescuers are these three fairies. So each of these fairies actually grants a characteristic to Sleeping Beauty. And then the prince comes at the end and he saves her at the end. But first comes the fairies. Let's see if I put that in here. I saved that part. Nah. Yeah. So these three fairies, like one grants her hope and strength and wisdom or something like that. And this is actually not just a witch, it's actually her. Anybody know? It's actually her.
She's the queen?
The queen.
The queen.
Yes. Yeah.
May I just first ask a question? Yeah. Is there this chance that here we have two rescuers, like two sets of rescuers, the prince and the fairies?
There is. The first ones that show up are the fairies, and then later in the story, the prince saves her ultimately at the end of the story.
So this story has two rescuers. Is that okay? All right.
Yeah, that's okay. Yep. the thing is, this is not really a healthy set of relationships, right? It's not really healthy, and it doesn't happen just in fairy tales. This happens in our work, and this happens in our homes and in our families. So what it sounds like in our human reality is we have a victim who's got this status where they're saying, poor me, I'm helpless and I'm hopeless. And then, lo and behold, what shows up is a persecutor who says, it's your own fault. And they're kind of the arrogant ones. And then comes the rescuer who says, I'll save you. And they get to be all sort of uppity, and they have an ego because they get to be a savior. But it's not really healthy, right? So what do you think? Again, this is just a verbal discussion for the moment, not yet into Miro. What do you think is the kind of the worst problem here? What do you think's really not working well?
I think that in all the examples that you stated, the rescuer steps in without asking, just trying to help without being asked.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
It doesn't allow the victim to progress in their path because they're given the solution and they don't mull over it and overcome the obstacles.
Right. The victim never sort of grows up, right? The victim never comes out. They get saved, but they haven't really done anything of their own. So let's take this another step farther. So the question is, how do we empower the victims? And how do we turn rescuers into giving good help? And can persecutors play a good role? So how do we create a more healthy triangle at home and work? And what the second guy did that we're going to look at, he flipped the triangle upside down and he gave them new names and new roles. So David Emerald, he knew about Stephen Karpman and the triangle that Stephen made in the late 60s. And he started to think about what would be the alternative. What's a better alternative? And he called his the empowerment dynamic, which is also known as TED, T-E-D. So he flips the triangle upside down. He says, let's say the victim transforms into someone who's a creator, his choice of words, not mine. But this person has this power to create their own reality. They can make choices, they can grow, they can focus on outcomes, not problems. They can take responsibility. They really become a self-organizing, self-actualizing person. He then says, let's take the persecutor and turn them into a challenger. So they're still creating challenges for the creator, but they're not doing it in a negative way. They're creating healthy challenges. So think about, if you guys have kids, think about this from their perspective. How are you creating healthy challenges for your kids so that they learn and grow? How do you evoke or provoke action, but not provoke in a bad way, but really evoke is maybe a better word in English. And then he said, let's turn the rescuer into a coach. So the coach becomes the person who asks the powerful questions, who opens up possibilities, who maybe holds you a little bit accountable for your own growth and says, how will you do it? So the question is, what does this look like at your home? So think about yourself as a child in the relationship to your parents. So I don't know about you, but I still have, my mom is still alive, and there's still stuff where I don't tell her. I just don't tell her stuff. You know, I'm the age I am, and I still don't tell my mother things. But when I think about myself, if I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I actually have a dog. I sometimes think about this like that. How do I help the person? How do I help my pup not be a victim, but really make his own choices, her own choices? So how is your home run? By the drama triangle or the empowerment triangle? And then even more important tonight to our conversation is, how does your team run at work? When you think of yourself as the boss and you have a team, or you think of yourself as the coach and you have a team, or you think of yourself as part of the team, but you have a boss or a coach. Are you guys functioning more in this drama triangle, a lot of this cycle of negativity, or are you functioning in the empowerment triangle? So which of these photographs would you rather be a part of? This one where these guys are all looking quite smiley? Or this one where, I don't know, this guy looks really pissed off. This one looks really sad. There's a little bit of arrogance going on in this guy. You know, if we took a picture of your team, which one would you rather be a part of? And then how do you bring that, how do you bring yourself into the team to actually deliver yourself to the team that way? So people who live and work from the TED framework choose their responses to life and their role in relationships, irrespective of circumstances. You're intrinsically controlling your identity, not extrinsically. That's a big word in English, but all right, so let's head over to the Miro board. I am gonna put this link, in the chat box. And let's do some stickies over there. Now, this Miro board is going to have a password from a really bad experience we had on the weekend in an Agile Connect coaching camp. So if you get there, it's Agile Connect, all one word, no capitals. So as you begin to arrive, off on the side, there are some stickies. And let's focus first on the left column question. So at work, who is your, oh, somebody's moving around my board. So the left column is at work, who is often our challenger? Who plays the challenger role at work? So pick up a sticky if you know how to do that. I'll move one over for folks to copy off of. Oopsie, oh, the whole thing's moving. If your board is doing that, put your cursor over the arrow at the top left of your toolbar, your vertical toolbar on the left. Make sure it's the arrow and not the hand. Drag things. So who's the challenger? So remember, we have 3 to choose from. We have a challenger, a creator, and who remembers the third one?
The victim.
The victim's in the triangle, in the drama triangle. So this, right now we're talking about the, so now we're talking about the empowerment triangle. So we have a challenger, a creator, and
a coach.
The coach, that's right. That's right. I'm seeing a trend. I'm seeing a job title I've never seen before. Can you guys still see my screen, or are you just looking at your Miro boards? I think probably you're just looking at your own boards. That's okay. Yep. I think I need to lock something. But I'm not.
You need to lock the square.
Lock the frame? Okay.
Yeah. Or the frame, yeah.
Okay, got it. Done. All right, so I'm seeing team leads. I'm seeing everyone. So who, the person who put the green sticky that says everyone as the challenger, can you tell us a little bit more about what that means to you?
So it's not exactly one person's role. It's something that it's a shared responsibility, and it's something that we've created as part of our culture. I think probably started by our area head, the team lead, probably started by giving the example But everyone actually has that role or that responsibility to not just accept the status quo. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right. Someone has a purple sticky that says the team specialist. This is a role I've never heard of before. Can you tell us more about that one? Whose sticky is that? Oh, not being brave tonight. Safe space rules. All right, fair enough, fair enough. All right, manager, coordination, team coordinator. Yep. Quite often the person who's challenging us is the person that we report to. That's quite often true. All right, let's try the second column. So for an Agile team, who plays the challenger role? The first one was more about just you as a worker. This column is really about the team. So who plays the challenger role as a team? So I'm going to kick back for a moment and remember the challenger challenges the creators to learn and grow, creates healthy challenges, evokes action, holds others accountable, and says you can do it. Not quite like the coach who says, how will you do it? But is sort of the cheerleader as well. Interesting. Product owner, Scrum Masters. The person who wrote Agilist, can you tell me what that role is? Tell us more about that role.
It's just another word for Scrum Masters or service delivery managers, people who work with Agile but aren't in a specific framework.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Wow, this is an interesting job title. Product owner, product manager, or is that project manager? The POPM person who wrote that sticky. Okay. Product owner. Got it. Or product manager. Okay, got it. All right. All right. All right, let's try the third column. Third question. In an Agile team, how do we transform ourselves to the creator mindset? What are some things we can do or think about or read or whatever that could change ourselves and our team to the creator mindset? Good, getting feedback from others. Okay, powerful questions. Focus on continuous improvement. That's kind of a growth mindset thinking. Trust, for sure, for sure. So just again, as a reminder, the creator focuses on outcomes versus problems, takes responsibility for your responses, takes incremental steps towards goals, a very agile approach to life, creates solutions, owns their own power, and says, I can do it. Building trust, giving autonomy, making people mindful of how they behave when faced with challenges. Yeah, sometimes, sometimes we're not self-perceptive, right? We don't notice how we're behaving in a certain situation. So sometimes it's helpful. Never fear, guys. The board doesn't have to be perfect. All right, good deal. All right, and the final question then. Oh, what happened to my final box? Oh, there it is. My next step. Okay, thank you. This is some days watching a mural board move is like just crazy chaos, like herding cats, you know? Okay, so my next step. So what's your takeaway from tonight? What do you think would be the next thing you might do tomorrow? You might try tomorrow that would shift your either your home life or your work situation and your team to a empowerment triangle as opposed to the drama triangle. Realize if you're behaving in the inverted triangle, the drama triangle. Ask questions instead of giving answers. Good. You know, the thing about the drama triangle and the other triangle as well is we all play all three roles. In any given moment, we might be any one of those three. So we want to think of turning ourselves into creators, but in relationship to others, sometimes we're the coach. Sometimes we need to be the challenger. So we don't really hold just one of those roles. So we want to learn to behave in the best way in the empowerment triangle in all three roles. With your kids, with your parents, with your coworkers, with your boss. Act as a coach more often. Yep. Yep. Acknowledge that we are fallible. Yes, absolutely. Where's my cursor? All right. So, so the last two last things. One is, can I get what are those little things called? Reactions on the Zoom board. Can I get a reaction if you've ever seen the triangle before? If you've ever seen the triangle before, give me a thumbs up. No, really? Ah, good to know. Good to know. Ah, a few people. Okay. All right. Good. I feel like I'm being really rude. This is kind of weird when you have two screens and I'm looking sideways, so sorry about that. All right, well, I'm glad I was able to share something new with all of you. That's pretty cool. Always good to learn something new. The last I think the last screen I have is, or sorry, the last slide is just because I'm going to post this on SlideShare, I wanted to repeat the questions so that you have them. You'll also be able to see that there's this link where in the Power of TED, the website where this kind of is hosted, you can actually learn a couple of things about how to shift from victim to creator. So that's helpful. And that's really it for me for tonight. So it didn't actually go quite as long as I thought it would. Always never know completely on a new presentation, but this is a few of my contact things. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can message me on WhatsApp. And when I'm not doing Agile coaching, I'm doing joy and happiness coaching, which is also kind of a version of leadership coaching that's got a little bit of Agile mixed into it. So I can't ever quite leave Agile behind. So, any questions? Stop share. All right. Questions, comments?
You have a lot of applause, so until now.
Thank you.
It was very nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Good. Good. Useful at work?
Yes.
things that are useful at work and at home.
I'm a victim or not. Gotta check it out. Gotta check it out first.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
I wonder if sometimes for ourselves we are at the same time the victim, the prosecutor, and the rescue.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, for sure, we are our own worst persecutors. Yeah.
Disney got all wrong back in the beginning.
Be a really twisted child story if it went too far into that black hole.
There's one interesting fact I don't know if you're aware of it, but Disney just recently started displaying a warning at the beginning of the classical movies, saying that these movies might depict some or like not out of fashion but out of date the depictions of cultures.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus. I found that to be really nice to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, the Disney movies, all movies are made at some point in time in history, and we change and we learn. And a lot of Disney movies from the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s don't depict all cultures as well as they probably should. They also depict what you will notice, and the reason I had to go back and choose some of the really old Disney movies is because a lot of the new Disney movies actually are built more like an empowerment triangle. So, you know, the girls are not victims. They're not helpless. Some of them are very, very strong, and they're presented very strong. And you see more coaching roles show up and less persecutors. You see less rescuers, less princes who just show up and sweep you off your feet. So that's really nice, but it meant I had to kind of go back to the old ones to find those situations.
Susan Sontag, I'm sorry for just bursting here with this stuff, but Susan Sontag also wrote an essay about the problem with the hero problem, that the women on movies would always have the role of the helpless victims and always in need of being rescued. Yeah, that's like it was written like in the 90s or something, but yeah, that's one of the problems with Disney also.
Yeah, yeah. The newer ones are better. There's a couple of James Bond 007 movies that are absolutely pathetic. And then there's a couple where like the women get to be really, really strong and really cool. So the interesting thing about Pink Floyd is the victim is a guy, right? Pink is a guy. So it doesn't only happen to women. It's depicted that way a lot, but it's not only that. Any other thoughts, questions, comments?
Yes, I have 2 questions I sent in the chat so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah.
The first one is, how do we create healthy challenges?
Anybody from the group want to answer that? Oh, come on, guys, be brave.
I guess it has to do with the way you deliver it. Like challenge might be the same both ways, but it has more to do with how you deliver the challenge rather than the challenge itself, I would say.
I think, you know, if you think about little kids, especially when they're maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years old, you want to give them a challenge that's a little bit of a step, it's a little bit of a stretch goal, like we might say in corporate world. But you don't want to give them something that they're completely going to fail at, right? Because you want someone to be brave enough to take a step, but not so big a step they'll fail. And then you want to be right there with them to say, here's what you learned, you know, what did you learn, and how did it go, and what could you do better next time, right? So it is sort of how you frame it. It's also how big the step is.
But doesn't that conflict with a growth mindset? Because I think learning how to deal with failure is important too.
It is. So if you want to run a 23 kilometer marathon, Are you going to go out and run the whole 23 all at once?
43 kilometers, yes.
Thank you. You know, if you did, you probably would stop, and then you really would fail. So there's a time when you're growing and learning, and then still, you know, you may not win the race, and you have to learn how to deal with the failure there that you didn't win, but it's not really a failure because of what you accomplished, right?
And would it be also important to work our ability to delegate to the others? Because maybe sometimes we want BS to do the things because we think we do better, we know how to do it, and maybe if we make the exercise to delegate and trust the other also is capable of doing it, and maybe can do in another way, and accept that it can do in another way, and not expect that it has to do the same way we think it has to be done. I don't know if I explained well the idea.
No, exactly. That's perfect. That's another way to present a challenge, is to delegate and then let the other person figure it out.
Let me just add one thing to Carlos. I'm not sure. I was thinking about your question about the LC challenges. I don't know if challenges are LC or an LC. I think is the way you approach the results. For instance, the example from Thene, giving a challenge to the kid. If you focus on the learning curve rather than celebrating the failure or celebrating the success, then the outcome would be always LC. So it's not the challenge itself. You can give a challenge that the kid will fail, but if you focus on okay, what did we learn? What are you going to do different? That's LC. And when you win, you say, okay, look back what you have grown with this exercise. If you do not focus on the end result but on the learn process, I think the challenge can be both LC or an LC. So it's not about the challenge; it's about what you focus on when you achieve it.
Thanks for sharing, guys. It was very helpful. And the other question I have is healthy ways to hold yourself and other people accountable without persecuting, because we had a kind of motto, like I forgot how to say, but if someone didn't do something they are supposed to, the responsibilities, they are given a notice regarding that. And it's like a kind of persecution, you know, to hold people accountable. And how are other ways to hold people accountable and yourself without persecuting, like in that sense?
What?
I don't know, but I would say giving feedback, candid feedback, and being kind always when you say something to anybody, but always say what you have to say, but the way is important, because you can hold people accountable, but you should always be as transparent, kind as possible when you do that. I don't know.
Yep.
May I give an opinion about that? I would say that one of the ways one of the parts to keep the person accountable, it has a lot to do with the empathy. So hold the person accountable, but always empathizing with her, with them, and like putting ourselves in their shoes.
In a way, we hold each other accountable in a Scrum team, right? We've done a sprint plan. We've said we're going to do these, I don't know, 5 stories. And then the daily stand-up really is about it's intended to be a healthy accountability. How are we doing? And it's more of a team approach than it is an individual approach. That's another way to kind of be healthy about it, is to take on that responsibility to be the creator as a team.
And if I can add just another thing is, if you are expecting someone to be accountable for something, I think there's two things that you need to consider. First, you are making expectations for yourself about something you don't control. That's the first thing you need to understand. And the second thing is, if you want to make anyone accountable for some actions, I think the best approach would be to just say, like Adilson was saying, okay, I'm expecting that you deliver this, or I'm thinking that you might do this. Is this understanding okay? If you just clearly say what you are expecting, people will clearly say, okay, I will comply with that, or I'm not aligned with you. And in that way, you lose this pressure of how can I make others around me accountable for things. You don't control that. The people are individuals, although we work in teams, people think for themselves. So I think it's good to recognize this, and then share what you are thinking about, or what you are expecting from someone else.
In the case I mentioned, we were a team that had clear expectations, and we delivered those clear expectations to people. And sometimes I know it's discrepancy, and it's hard to explain the whole scenario, but it's we were very open to those cases of empathizing and understanding stuff that's happening in their life, because we were kind of integral in that sense. But I just wanted to understand other models that could be used. So thanks for the feedback, guys.
All right. Any more questions, comments, thoughts? All right. Well, thanks for being a part of my experiment, my new presentation. So I'll put it up on SlideShare soon.
Okay. So I think we are done for today, right? So thank you once again for everyone for joining us today. Thank you. A special thanks for Pedro and Thene for the great presentations that you kindly share with us, and for all the learnings and also the challenges, right? So challenges to share also, and to learn together and to grow together once again. And I will suggest that we finish with a round of applause as an energizer for this end of. So thank you all, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for
having me. Remember the feedback, right?
Yes, and we will ask once again feedback, and we will then share with you guys, with Thene and with Pedro, and see you on the next month for the next meetup. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah,
Goodbye,
bye guys.
everyone.
Thank you.